Hey everybody, Dr. Chris here. As usual, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you listening here. So today I'm going to talk about willpower. All right? And willpower comes up all the time when you're talking about weight loss, nutrition, physical activity. All right, people say, hey, I got this plan and it fell apart because I don't have the willpower. Hey, I was doing great on my diet until that cookie came up and I don't have the willpower. Hey, that person, they get up at 5 every morning and exercise, and so they got willpower. That's why they're doing so well. All right, so let's talk about willpower here. So I'm going to start by talking about 3 different levels of the brain that are involved in willpower. All right, we'll go through those. We'll kind of see what you can do to affect these areas of the brain to get yourself some more willpower, okay? Because everybody wants more willpower. How do you do it? You can do it. Let's talk about it, okay? So the first level in the brain is called the hedonic area, okay? It's not physically, well, it's kind of physically an area, but I'm talking more about what does it control and what happens in real life related to this part of the brain. So hedonic function is, you know, the example is a frog sitting on a log, a fly shows up next to him. What happens? The frog eats the fly, right? It happens, okay? You're sitting on the couch, there's a chocolate bar next to you, you eat the chocolate bar, okay? It's just that reflexive, hey, there it is, this is happening. No thought process, nothing like that. It's just almost automatic, okay? So that's one level. Another level, it happens in the executive part of the brain. So the executive part of the brain is in the front here. Okay, this oversees all sorts of parts of your function and behavior. Okay, so you can think of it as an executive person sitting at their desk. Okay, and people have different kinds of executives sitting at their desk. All right, some people have a very sleepy executive. They're nodding off. They're not really paying attention. You know, someone who's got a real alert executive, they're paying attention, they got their schedules, they're doing this and that. They see a fly, they smack that fly away before the frog eats it, right? Someone who's got a real sleepy executive, there might be a fly right there. You eat the fly before, or the chocolate bar, before the executive even realizes it, okay? Now, some people naturally have one that's a little more awake or a little less awake. Some of that's genetic based, but there are lots of things that you can do to make your executive more sleepy or more awake, okay? And a lot of these we've talked about other places, but just haven't kind of described it this way in relationship to how awake your executive function is. So adequate sleep, okay? If you're not getting enough sleep, your executive is going to be sleepy. You're going to be sleepy, your executive is going to be sleepy, you're going to make worse decisions, okay? Getting some exercise can help. Reducing stress can help wake up your executive, okay? There are medications that can do it also. Talk to your physician about that stuff. So anyway, anything that you can do to rest, relax, recuperate, minimize stress, get enough sleep is gonna help your executive function better and be able to screen out these hedonic impulses, all right? All right. Oh, another point on it is mindfulness. Okay, so if you're paying attention to things, right, that kind of makes sense. Your executive's up, he's looking around. You're going to notice that fly when it shows up. If you are sitting on the couch watching TV and you're just eating chips out of the bag, you're not paying any attention. So you have to also put some effort into being mindful. Hey, what's happening around me? Hey, why is my hand in a bag of chips? Okay, so mindfulness is very important. Take some practice, but you can develop it. Okay? The third level in the brain is kind of like a guardian, okay? It's the gatekeeper to weight gain and weight loss. I talked about this in my hormone series, leptin, okay? So leptin is a signal from fat cells up to your brain that tells your body, hey, what is our energy stores like? Do we have enough fat? Do we not have enough? So this is a very tricky one to overcome, because even if you have a sharp, on-point executive who's pushing that chocolate bar away, your weight's coming down in a healthy fashion, at some point the gatekeeper, leptin, is going to say, you know what, we've gone low enough, we're going to change your behavior. Okay, so some of that is just, it's built in. Metabolism slows as you lose weight. Some things we can do about that, but those are the 3 different layers of willpower and behavior when it comes to weight regulation, appetite, physical activity, that sort of thing. Okay. So now I want to move on to what do you do about those things? Okay, I mentioned a few ways to wake up your executive function, all right, so you can pay attention a little bit more. But willpower itself can be trained, okay? A lot of people think, hey, I got it or I don't. I have willpower or I don't, all right? And that's inaccurate. That's not true. One, it's just, if you're one of those people who think, hey, I don't have willpower, well, then you're doomed. I mean, you have no chance, right? Hey, there's food there, I gotta eat it. I have no willpower, right? But that's not true. So now you can start feeling a little guilty because you do have a say in it, okay? Now it takes practice, okay? It takes practice. Think, how many times have you been stressed and then you grabbed a cookie? All right, for a lot of people, that's thousands of times. You know, think of your own example. Whatever you've done that's an unhealthy behavior, and you've made that association so many times, there's no way you're gonna break that association the next time you're stressed and you're standing next to a cookie, okay? So you gotta practice it. You gotta close your eyes at night and visualize, hey, I'm stressed, I don't need a cookie. I'm stressed, I don't need a cookie. You need to put some steps in between being stressed and having a cookie. And eventually you practice that enough, it'll improve your willpower and you'll be more successful. And soon you'll be able to say, no, I'm stressed. I don't want that cookie. I'm gonna do something that's different, I don't know, whatever, but not eat the cookie, okay? So you can train your willpower. Another thing that's helpful is making rules, okay? So this comes from Chris Toe. He has some books, some works. He's a reporter on how children succeed, but you can extrapolate some of this to adults or anyone, how to achieve success. And in this, I'm talking about willpower in particular. So he talks about rules, okay? So a lot of people feel restricted by rules. Oh, I can't do this, the rule says that, I can't speed, the speed limit says that. But in some ways it can be very freeing, especially when you talk about willpower, okay? So I'll use myself for an example here. You know, I go to work, people bring in garbage, food, this happens all over the place, right? You probably have the same experience. And I say, no, thank you, I don't want any garbage food. And they say, oh, Dr. Weber, you have so much willpower to not eat that. And in my mind, I'm thinking, it would take more willpower for me to eat that cookie than to not eat it, right? And the reason is I have a rule. Say, I'm just not a person who eats junk food at work, okay? And now I could say that if I've never done this before in my life and I say that, it's not gonna kick in right away, right? You gotta practice this over and over again until you really believe that's just not something I do, right? So think of something that you do every day that you just couldn't imagine not doing. Okay, let's say brushing your teeth, okay? So it would take more willpower for you in the morning to say, I'm gonna skip brushing my teeth and go to work with stinky, gross teeth, right? That might bother you if that's something you do every day, all right? Whereas you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, hey, this is just what I do. There's not a question, it's a rule that I have for myself. Or, you know, think about it another way. Think of something you would never do and then imagine that you had to do it, right? So for example, most people say, I go to the grocery store, pick out what I need, I go pay for it at the register. Most people's rule is, I don't just steal, you know, if I want a bag of coffee beans, I don't just put it in my pocket and take off. And if you say, hey, that's my rule, and one day you think, or one day you're forced to steal a bag of coffee beans, you're gonna get nervous, your palms are gonna sweat, and that's because you're breaking your rule. You're just not someone who steals, right? And so make these rules for yourself to stick to. You know, I've had some people who say, you know, hey, the cookies in the pantry are my kids, okay? And I don't take other people's stuff, okay? So that can help sometimes. Again, just making the rule on day one does not mean you're gonna be successful on day two, but you gotta start with the rule and then practice it, reiterate it, say it to yourself, and really believe that that's a rule and say that that's just not the kind of person you are to do something like that, okay? And of course, like all this stuff, take it easy on yourself if you break the rule. But again, it should be a rule, and then the breaking the rule is the exception. Okay? And the last thing I want to mention is growth mindset. So Carol Dweck has done a lot of work. She's a researcher, done a lot of work on growth mindset, specifically in schools, and it talks about how people approach challenges and improvement. Okay, so a fixed mindset is when you say, hey, I'm stuck, I have no willpower, or I was born not good at math, that's where I am. Challenges, you know, if I have a math test, that's a problem because I'm not good at math, I'm not gonna do well. If I do well, yeah, there's good luck. If I do poorly, well, of course I'm gonna do poorly, so I'm not even gonna try, okay? People who have a growth mindset, and this is applied to school, so academics and sports. So people who do have a growth mindset, they say, hey, I presently struggle with math. I know I'm not that good at it right now, but I'm gonna keep working. And when I get that test grade back and it's not the best, I'm gonna say, hey, what did I do wrong? And I'm gonna work to improve it, okay? So this sounds very simple, but they look at challenges like obstacles, stepping stones to improvement, okay? And you can use that to apply to willpower also, all right? You eat that cookie, you say, what went wrong? Why did it happen? And you really think about answering that question. You know, a lot of people say, why did I do that? And then they go about their business. No, answer the question. Why did you eat that cookie? And when you find out why, do something to fix that problem, right? So that way you can practice improving your willpower. Okay, so that's willpower. Quick overview, went over those 3 areas of the brain: hedonic, executive function, and then the leptin pathway. And then we talked about willpower and how you can actually make some changes, practice, and you can have more willpower. Think about rules, think about practicing this stuff, and you'll have solid willpower in no time. All right, talk to you soon. Dr. Chris.
Be sure to schedule your free 30-minute initial phone consultation by sending me an email or by visiting our website at refinedwellnessconsulting.com.